The state and the feds are watching.
Did they do their job for Tyron?
But children are still being abused and dying under the state's protection.
If they did, he'd still be here.
The Problem Solvers expose more than 100 deaths.
I shouldn't had to have buried my son.
2 years later, has anything changed? That KOMO4 investigation uncovered those cases of deaths and abuse on the state's watch. And now the state could be hit with a multi-million-dollar penalty.
At the time, new leaders at the Department of Social and Health Services promised change and accountability. Now KOMO4 Problem Solver Tracy Vetter reports, in terms of the most vulnerable, little appears to have changed.
I didn't want to believe it was my son.
Just 4.5 months old.
It didn't look like it at all.
Little Tyron's mother couldn't believe that was her baby connected to all the wires and tubes.
I didn't recognize him. That's how bad the injuries were.
Tyron had been a happy, healthy infant, doted on by his mother, Rachel Emery, and older brother, Max. But according to documents obtained by the Problem Solvers, in September of 2010, former boyfriend Michael Vanderver, who claimed to be Tyron's father, took the boy and refused to give him back. When Emery received this picture of bruises on Tyron, she contacted both police and CPS.
I was afraid for my son. I told the caseworker that I had talked to on the phone that I was afraid for my son's well-being.
These internal CPS documents indicate police told CPS the parents were having a custody dispute. So in spite of Emery's pleas, CPS never investigated.
I begged her to at least put him in CPS care until it played out in court.
2 days before Tyron was taken to the hospital, a Head Start teacher also called, voicing concern about Tyron. The documents say the Head Start worker felt that she was dismissed by CPS. October 5th, 2010, Tyron was declared brain dead. The doctors took him off life support.
I was holding my son when they took him off and his heart stopped.
Vanderver admitted he caused Tyron's injuries and pled guilty to manslaughter. CPS closed its case.
Did they do their job for Tyron?
No. If they did, he'd still be here.
Tyron is just one of hundreds of children who have died while under the state's watch. The Problem Solvers reviewed over 700 child death reports from 2002 through 2010. During that time, at least 136 children have died of abuse or neglect. In 2010 alone, the state's records show 12 children like Tyron who died at the hands of caretakers. But we found another 5 deaths that year where we believe abuse or neglect is the likely cause. 17 children dead, and in each case, the state had an opportunity to intervene.
It's disturbing because it's not changing.
Attorney Michael Pfau has won numerous cases against the state for clients who've lost children or lost their childhoods due to CPS mistakes. He says in his 20 years of local practice, he hasn't seen CPS getting any better.
But you see the same problems with oversight and the same problems with mistakes being made.
That we all get fatigued over like the same recommendations.
State Ombudsman Mary Meinig is the governor's watchdog, troubleshooting problems and solutions within Children's Administration and CPS. She believes the department has changed and improved, but she still sees troubling patterns, including delays in child abuse investigations.
Will we ever reach a day where we have no child abuse? But great. But we've got a ways to go.
This federal review of Washington's system found several improvements over the past decade, but in child safety, the review found Washington still falls short and could face a minimum $1.5 million penalty for not doing enough to protect children from abuse and neglect.
I think this is a public child welfare system that is showing progress and that is showing improvement.
Denise Revels Robinson is the 4th head of Children's Administration in less than 10 years. She left her last post in Wisconsin under a cloud after a high-profile death of a child in that system. I asked about recent state and federal reviews that find her agency has ongoing problems completing child safety investigations and keeping kids safe. it appears we still have these very same significant concerns now. How is that an improvement?
So I understand what you're asking, and what I would say is that there clearly is more of a focus on the safety of infants and younger children. They are the most vulnerable.
If that's true, that added focus didn't help Rachel Emery.
As much as you're supposed to be able to trust the system, you really can't.
She begged CPS to protect her son, Tyron.
I shouldn't had to have buried my son.
Ravel's Robinson also told me she plans to retire after this year, meaning the revolving door at the top of DSHS and Children's Administration will continue with yet another new leader to hold accountable. Also, we've uncovered an exclusive and shocking story about a high-profile child rape case and the up till now secret CPS connection. I'll tell you how the state stood by and a vulnerable girl got raped again and again and again. Tomorrow night at 11. Tracy Vetter, KOMO 4 News.